Good morning, everybody. I have been pushed to the playroom, so hence the Batman and Star Wars and map of America behind me. I had two videos for shooting, and I lost because I have a Chromebook, which is movable, and my husband has the desktop, which doesn't really move all that well. So, good morning, AP Psych kiddos. So we are now in I feel like we've got a good rhythm between like our completion grade of whatever that is for the week, and then our quiz at the end of the week covering the material. So last week you got your first graded quiz based on competency. Grades are already in the grade book. I hope you still have access to the grade book. I think you do. I don't see why that would be any different. So you can go in and you can check the grades that you have. And I wanted to go over the quiz that we took last week and then answer any questions about the FRQ that I assigned. I think it's due. What is the FRQ due? It's like a practice FRQ. I feel like it's due Thursday. I think it's due Thursday night. So today's Wednesday. So tomorrow night it is due for your completion grade. I really want you guys to get in the habit of seeing these FRQs and doing the FRQs, especially online, like on a computer, because that's what you're going to have to do. That and there are two FRQs for this test. One of them is for sure going to be research methods tied on to like another topic. So that's what this practice FRQ is this week, is research methods tied on to intelligence, where the bulk of it is research methods and like mean, median, and mode, but it's going to be like, okay, now apply that to this other concept we're talking about in class. So, but before we get into that, I wanted to talk about the quiz from last week. So I'm going to bring that up. If you have access to it, I think the couple of you that are watching, whenever you got an email of your grade, of what you got on your quiz grade from last week, did it give you those questions again? Did it say like, here were the questions and here are the ones you got right and wrong? Like, did you get to see your responses, or was it just a grade? So type in the little comment box right there. What did it show you when it came to your quiz grade from last week over cognition and thinking and memory? We saw the responses. Fantastic. Okay. Like the question and the responses? And which ones you got right? Which ones you got wrong? Yes, no, yes, 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 no, yes, no, yes, no. Yes. Okay, good. All right. So, unfortunately, I can't show them to you like on the screen because I have to pull it up, but you can't see my desktop. But if you have access to that email, you can kind of follow along with me. So you're not just like listening to the questions and trying to remember what they were, but you're actually looking at it and then me off to the side. So go into your Gmail account, your school account, and then open up the responses of those quizzes, and then we'll be able to do that. So you do that, and I'm going to pull mine up as well. I'm going to put me off to the side here. How's everybody doing? Is everyone doing well? I hope everyone's doing well. Okay. Okay. So everyone should have gotten the questions in the same order. Like there shouldn't, I don't think I had it set on scramble. So we're just going to go through them one by one. Most of you guys did really well. There was 10 questions. The average was an 8.68. The median, the middle response is a 9 out of 10. But the range was a 3 to a 10. So there were some people, I feel like those people either have not been doing their assignments or they just randomly were like C, 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 C. So, but that was just a couple people. Of course, there were several people that did not do the assignment at all. Keep in mind that this is still, if you're a junior, this is still going in towards your rank. But like seniors, no. Okay. So on the first question, it says a person assembling a tool 1 week after reading instructions can remember the first and the last steps of the procedure, but not the middle ones. This best illustrates the following. And 94% of people got this right. It is serial position effect. And when there's a list, when there's things in order, you typically remember the first or the last. You forget the middle. If it said they remember only the first stuff, that would have been the primacy effect. If they said they only remember the last step, then it would have been the recency effect. But if it says something about like they remember both beginning and last, serial position effect is going to be the best here. It says a teenager, next question, a teenager would probably draw on which of the following to recall their 10th birthday party. Well, their 10th birthday party happened to them. The majority of people got this right. It's episodic memory. It's like an episode of your life. Okay, the next question says a word or part of a word that in itself meaningful, it has meaning, and that's the key word here, but cannot be broken down into smaller units is called a. So if it's just part of language that has sound, like the letters of the alphabet, that's a phoneme. But if it's more than that, it's meaningful, like S makes things plural, or ing makes it happening right now, like you are currently running, then it's a morpheme. Only 76% of people got this right. Some people, the majority of people that got it wrong, put hollow phase. Hollow phase just means it is when we develop language, we develop it based on like our maturity level, meaning like our growth. So at 1 year old, we talk like typically one word phrase. 2 years old, we talk about like 2 word phrase, and then 2 and on, we have full sentences. Well, there's actually like terms for that. If you only are speaking in one word, like mom, ball, dog, that's called holophrasic speech. So holophrasic is a term, but it's about speech development. So a 1-year-old is going to be speaking one word that's called holophrasic. A 2-year-old is going to be talking in 2 words. They're going to say like mom go or dog ball, something like that. That's called telegraphic speech because it kind of sounds like a telegraph. Like you guys are way too young to remember. I don't even remember telegraphs, but that you had to pay per word if you wanted to write a telegraph to someone across the country. So you would try to eliminate all of the like articles and pronouns and things like that. It would just be like verb, noun, that type of thing. So like 1-word phrase, telephrasic, 2-word phrase. And then after that, it's just they're speaking in sentences. Okay. But it wasn't holophrasic. It was morpheme, which was meaningful. Hold on, there are some people. I want to make sure that it's not like remind kids. Oh man, do you ever sometimes regret joining a group text because it's not that important what everyone's saying? Okay. I did for my own classes that I'm taking of like all the students getting a master's in the thing that I'm taking. And it's like, oh my gosh, hi. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't even know you. Okay. So next question says, according to Benjamin Whorf's linguistic relative hypothesis, which of the following is true? 91% of people got it right. And basically it is, what is this? Like, okay. It says different language predisposes individuals who speak them to think differently about the world, meaning the way that you speak your language determines the way that you think. So your language determines your cognition. So linguistic determinism, it's the language that determines how you think. The next question says, which of the following scenarios best illustrates the role of context, effects, and memory? Only 67% of people got this right. We'll go over the correct answer, and then we're going to go over the most missed answer. So the correct answer is Amy studied for a vocabulary test in the same room and the same time of the day as a normal class. And it, like my screen is cut off. I can't see the rest of it, but she's in the same context. The majority answer when people got it wrong, they said Dinah couldn't remember the name of her 2nd grade teacher, but she thought about all the names of her, I guess, current teachers, which is not context effects. That's that whole like interference, like porn acronym. she can't remember the old stuff. She can only remember the new stuff. Well, if the new stuff is interfering, that's retroactive interference. And so that's an interference question, not a context memory question. The next question says, to help himself remember the names of his new colleagues, Hope, it says, to help himself remember the new colleagues, Hope, there we go. Jose thinks about the meaning of her name, the feeling of hopefulness, which gives the best concepts that corresponds to his strategy. So he's trying to think of the meaning of the word hope as a way to remember her name. So if you're using the meaning of things to help you remember, that's semantic encoding. First off, he's trying to get into his head. He's trying to put her name in his head. And so he's trying to encode it. He's trying to put it into his memory. And that's called encoding. It's just what type of encoding? Is it acoustic? Is it visual? No, it's semantic, because the word semantic means meaning. Most people got this right, 82% of people. Some people put self-reference, which is not a thing, I don't think. I've never seen that. Maybe someone Google it or something. I don't know. But that's not correct. Okay. The next question says that Piper reads about someone described as adventurous and extroverted. Then she judges the person on. Then she judges that this person is more likely to be a lawyer who enjoys hiking than a lawyer who does not. The best explanation for Piper's error is that she's basing her judgment on. The correct answer is the representative heuristic. Someone like adventurous and extroverted, based on stereotypes, would probably be more likely to go hiking than someone that's not, because they are adventurous. But that's using representative heuristic to make that judgment call, which is not true. Majority of people got this one right. The next question says, Martine needs a hammer but cannot find one. She looks around her apartment. Her gaze passes over a metal paperweight and some other objects that could potentially serve as a makeshift hammer. However, she's so focused on these objects' typical uses that she does not think to use them as a hammer. So she has functional fixedness. She can't, she's so fixated on something's function, their purpose, that she can't see it as some other type of function. Most people got that right. The next question says, processing every example of the letters D, B, R, I to arrive at the word of bird is an example of. So if you're using every possible combination, eventually you're going to get to the right answer. It might take a while, but that's an algorithm. You are going to try every possible combination for an answer to solve a problem. That's an algorithm. And the last question is, Matthew's parents are physicists, and so are the parents of several of his best friends. Therefore, Matthew believes that many people are employed as physicists. Matthew's reasoning is based on what? Well, whatever's available in his mind. He thinks of his parents. He thinks of his friends' parents. He's just assuming, based on what he is around, based on what is available on his memory, that everyone's a physicist. Well, that's availability heuristic. And the majority of people also got that right. So everyone did pretty well. This week's quiz is going to be very similar in terms of like 10 questions. It is going to be based on intelligence and what we've been talking about this week with multiple intelligences and intelligence tests and the good character, or the characteristics of a good test, standardization, validity and reliability, things like that. But let's talk about, does anyone have any questions so far? There's a few of you guys that are here. Anyone have any questions about the end of the week quiz that I just went over before I completely switch gears? Nope. Okay, fantastic, Pink Void. I appreciate your response, your quick response to my questions. I do appreciate that. Okay, so let me pull up, give me a second to pull up your, it is the completion, it's called completion grade of week 413 to 417 intelligence. Very few people have turned this in, at least in first period. I can only pull up one class period at a time. And only 3 people. Make sure that you are giving yourself time to do it. I mean, open it up, give it a look to see like how long it is. But there are two parts of the question. And someone texted me earlier, they're like, do we pick which part we do or do we do both parts? No, you do both parts. It's not like any, meeny, miny, mo. It is, this is the prompt. And this is very similar to what you're going to be experiencing on the day of the AP exam in terms of what it looks like and how many questions they'd probably be asking you. So, I put the directions up at the very top. I said, please change the color of your answer because my questions are like in black, grayish color. And just so it's easier to read, change your color like to red or blue or green or something, purple, something that I can see, not like yellow or like hot pink or something that would be really obnoxious. But something that's easily to read, and don't answer everything at the very bottom of the page. Like if I have a bullet point, like make a space and then answer, and then here's another bullet point. Okay, make a space and then answer under each bullet point, so I know which one you're answering. So the first part is just about statistics. It's just about research methods. The first section of the FRQ, and make sure you're not merely listing facts, but also make sure that you're answering incomplete sentences. And so the question says, statistics are often used to describe and interpret the results of intelligence tests. Describe means like, what are they? Don't just list them out, but like what are they? And then define. Describe the three measures of central tendency. It even tells you what you're describing. You're describing the mean, median, and mode. And then it says describe is skewed distribution. Maybe what it looks like, what causes it. And then it says relate the three measures of central tendency to normal distribution. Like how are they related to a normal distribution? If you remember, the normal distribution is that nice little bell curve that looks like this. And then it says relate the three measures of central tendency to a positively skewed distribution. So you talked about skewed before. Now how does mean, median, mode relate to a skewed? And remember, a skewed is like there's a tail on one end and then is the hump is somewhere not in the middle. And then it says an intelligence test for which the scores are normally distributed has a mean of 100 and a standard deviation of 15. All of this is correct. Like they're not just making these numbers up. That's what intelligence is, like the IQ test. That's how it's distributed. Use this information to describe how the scores are distributed. I'm looking for percentages here. Do you remember the percentages for 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations, 3 standard deviations? I would look it up, or I would look at your notes. Keep in mind, kiddos, that you get to use your notes on the AP exam. Take as many good notes as you can. I've had several students, they are basically typing all of their notes over again, and they are printing them out. So it's really easy to find things. They've highlighted the big like units. So it's like, oh, this question's about this. Okay, let me go to that unit and find it really quickly. And they're doing really excellent. Okay, and then the next part, it says, in two normal distributions, the mean are 100 for group 1 and 115 for group 2. How can an individual in group 1 have a higher score than the mean score for group 2, and explain? That was pretty self-explanatory. And the very second part of the FRQ is now applying this to intelligence. Now it's like, I thought we were talking about intelligence this week. We are. So now you're applying it to intelligence. It says apply knowledge of psychological research in answering the following questions about intelligence scores. Explain why norms of standardized intelligence scores are periodically updated. Remember, we'd have to, I would mention something about the Flynn effect. I think I talked about that on Tuesday. The Flynn effect. I would look that up. And the last part, it says, describe how to determine whether intelligence test is biased. Okay, so even though this, even though this FRQ is due Thursday night, you still have one more lesson tomorrow. I just posted the one for today. I just posted it maybe an hour ago. I didn't expect you to watch that before this. You can watch it after. But tomorrow we're going to talk about test bias. So I would keep your document like open, like in a tab or something. And then when we talk about how tests are biased, and they are, how then you can go back and answer that. So there's a few people that have turned it in, but we haven't talked about tests being biased. And so I would make sure to go back and look at that. I know that it's a completion grade right now. But still, we got to practice like we play. And if you want to play to get college credit, we got to practice like that. All right. So, moving on. Does anyone have any questions about the FRQ, practice FRQ that is due tomorrow night, I think? This coffee is very, very cold. Questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, concerns? No? Okay. Does anyone want to buy 10 Minecraft Lego sets? I'm selling them for $120 for all of them, but for you guys, I would make an exception for only $100. 10 Minecraft Lego sets with instructions. We got to make room for all of our other Legos over here. Anywho, the playroom, it's just a mess. Okay. So, let's talk about a couple things before we're done for the day. I wanted to stress the good testing characteristics. I just wanted to go over those really quickly. The idea of standardized, reliability, and validity. So standardized tests, there are certain ways to make it standardized. Yes, it's a pre-tested group, but there has to be rules to follow. That's why, like, you've taken EOCs before, an AP test before, or maybe like a SAT or ACT, and you know that the teacher is like reading, the test proctor is like reading from a book. It's all like, at the top corner of your test booklet, you will see a number. Please bubble this number into your document. If anyone has any questions, raise their hand. All right, now open up your test booklet to the first page. There's an example. I'm like, okay, they have to give all of, like, you can't skip instructions. You can't say things differently. It all has to be in the same orders and procedures for it to be standardized. A teacher can lose their job and lose their teaching license if they mess these standardization rules up. It's very, very bad. We get hours and hours and hours of training every single year about like PSAT and SAT and ACT and EOC and all the letters of the alphabet, and all the have tests that associated with it. So that's fun. Okay, so yes, it's a pre-tested group, but there are certain procedures that have to be followed. Okay, if it is a truly standardized test, you will get a normal distribution. A normal distribution comes from a standardized test. That's why, like, not all tests that you will take are good tests, because like unit tests and tests in class are not standardized. I do not test you against a pre-tested group to determine what is failing and what is passing. A 70 and above is passing. That's what I know. And so it's not standardized to determine what the curve is going to be. And so unit tests and class tests are not going to be the best version of a test. Okay, but hopefully they're still going to be reliable and they're still going to be valid. Reliable means no matter how I test it, you're going to be given the same score every single time, around the same score. So I used to, I don't do this anymore, but you know that I give like two versions of a test in class, like row A and B and A and B, and you have to like bubble in your test form. So your guys' test, the answer choices are scrambled, but the questions are all in the same order. It makes it a whole lot easier when we go over them the next day. But I used to scramble questions and answer choices. Okay, here's the thing. When I'm writing a test, I typically am writing it in the order that we learn the material. Like the first couple of questions are going to be from the beginning of the unit, and the last few questions are going to be from the end of the unit. And so your brain has kind of already seen this material in order before. Here's the thing though, when I scrambled tests in the past and I made my test B scrambled, it was all out of order. Like there were the same questions, but it wasn't in the order that we learned it. And so my averages on test A, when they had it in the same order that we learned it, were like typically 5 points higher, which is a decent amount for an average to be 5 points higher than version B. So my tests, because of the way that I scrambled it, were not reliable because people weren't getting the same scores on different versions. It should be like no matter how I test it, it should be the same scores. And if it's not a reliable test. So I had it's like test form reliability. I didn't have it because test form A had a higher score than test form B because they were given a disadvantage by having their brain go from like this concept to this concept to this concept and back and forth. And it was mentally exhausting to take test B versus test A was in the order that we learned it, and it progressively gets more recent. But now I know. Okay, and then validity needs to have information that's actually on the test. I don't know if he still does this, but those of you that had my husband for like D Cush or A Push, he used to like give questions on his test about himself. Like he would be like, which of the following jobs have I not done? Or, he would make himself be an answer choice, or he would like, what's the name of my dog or whatever, like on a test. Even though if you've been paying attention, you should know those answers because that's just like, have you been present and aware in class? But technically, since the title of the test might be like U.S. history from this date to this date, that's not a valid test when you have questions over concepts that you haven't talked about, because it needs to test what you're supposed to be testing on. And if the test says physics test, there shouldn't be eco questions on it. That would not be valid. So validity, test what it should. Reliability, same score every time. And standardize, pre-test a group, same procedures with a normal distribution. Those are the big three concepts of a good test. Of course, you now realize everyone in here has had bad tests before. I've had bad tests where in college, it was like I think it was a government class. And he would just throw questions about Russia's government and like China's government. And it was like, we hadn't even mentioned those other countries in class, but he was like, well, you guys sometimes watch the news and you should guys know. And I'm like, I don't know. It's not something we've covered. And so, yeah, that was not a fun class. My first and only D in college. Sad days. Okay. Well, I'm done for today. Does anyone have any questions before we leave? I've already posted your assignment for today. And tomorrow will be a little quick assignment about biases on tests. And then you'll have your little like end of the week quiz. But other than that, also, we're not having office hours on this Friday. We're not having office hours this Friday. I have another Zoom meeting that I have to attend to that was earlier this week, but then it got postponed to Friday, and we can't postpone it again. So office hours on Friday will be canceled for AP Psych. I should be available for AP Eco, but AP Psych, that is when my Zoom meeting for the department is taking place. So no office hours this Friday. Other than that, I will see you guys later. Any questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, or concerns? No? Okay. I'll see you guys later. Peace out, Girl Scout. Bye.